morning and welcome to the What's Up News Network, being broadcast from Panama City Beach, Florida, the home of the world's most beautiful beaches, and only 323 miles from Booger Hollow, Georgia, the center of the universe where the people are so good they have to hold on to the blackberry bushes to keep from being drawn into heaven. I am Jim Free with Jim Free Realty. Please click on the red subscribe button just below the picture. Now let's go to the lighter side to some stories. If you have to show identification to board an airplane, cash a check, buy liquor, or check out a library book, but not to vote for who runs for the government, you might live in a country founded by geniuses but run by idiots. If you get arrested for hunting and fishing without a license but not being in the country illegal, you might live in a country founded by geniuses but run by idiots. If a student has to get their parents' permission to go on a field trip or take an aspirin but not get permission from parents for an abortion, you might live in a country founded by geniuses and run by idiots. If hard work and success are met with higher taxes and more government intrusion, with EBT cards, with WIC checks, Medicare subsidies, housing, and free cell phones, you might live in a country founded by geniuses and run by idiots. If your government thinks it's bad to deport a child, but okay to abort a child, you might live in a country founded by geniuses and run by idiots. Governor DeSantis sends one plane to Martha's Vineyard, and just like that, the sanctuary city decides they don't want to be sanctuary cities no more. My cousin Linda Lou went to Booger Hollow Dollar General to pick up some X-Lax, but ended up buying a pack of Depends. Which brings me to a question that I had. I've been wondering about why do baby diapers have names like Huggies and Pampers, and adult diapers have names like Depends. I finally figured it out. It has to do with who's changing the diapers. Baby diapers are usually changed by loving parents and grandparents. Adult diapers changing depends on who's in the wheel. Mr. President, also known as Big Guy, also known as Uncle Joe, also known as Brandon, is actually 7 months younger than I am. We do have a few things in common. Our age, we were both lifeguards in our teenage years, and we both plagiarized other people's works. Both went to law school, both claim we graduated at the top of our class, but I can't keep up with his stories. I have heard him say he was raised in a white working class community. He says he was raised in a black community. And this week he said he was raised in a Puerto Rican community. I was just raised in a mill village. Fortunately enough for both of us, most of the people who could validate our stories have already passed on. We'd like to give credit due when it's deserved. We don't have a lot of scientists come out of Booger Hollow, Georgia, but Billy Bob Jones and I graduated from the same high school. Billy Bob was kind of a nerd, and he got a full scholarship to Georgia Tech. Dr. Billy Bob moved to Washington, D.C., where he studied the science of government and discovered the heaviest element ever known to science. The new element is called governmentum. Governmentum has a symbol of GV, has 1 neutron, 25 assistant neutrons, 88 deputy neutrons, and 198 assistant deputy neutrons, giving it an atomic mass weight of 312. These 312 particles are held together by forces called morons, which are surrounded by a vast quantity of lepton-like particles called pillox. Since governmentum has no electrons, it is inert. However, it can be detected because it impedes every action which it comes in contact. A tiny amount of governmentum can cause a reaction that would normally take less than a second to take 4 days or up to 4 years. Governmentum has a normal life of 2 to 6 years. It does not decay, but instead undergoes a reorganization in which portions of the assistant neutrons and deputy neutrons exchange places. In fact, governmental mass will actually increase over time, since each reorganization will cause more morons to become neurons, forming isotopes. This characteristic of moron promotion leads some scientists to believe that governmental is formed whenever morons reach a critical concentration. This hypothetical quality is referred to as critical morass. When crystallized with money, governmental becomes administratium. Administratium has an atomic weight and symbol of AD, an element that radiates just as much energy as governmental, since it has half of the many pillox but has twice as many morons. Let's get a little more serious. In the national news, one of the biggest race baiters in the country is Joy Reid, the host of NSNBC, The Readout Show, has gone too far. On Saturday, she tweeted that Governor Ron DeSantis, telling people not to loot and warning them that they might be shot by gun-carrying Floridians, had the same tone as segregationist Miami Sheriff Walter E. Henley, infamously saying, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts," in 1960. In addition, Reid's tweet linked to an NPR article about the racist history connecting it to vicious segregationists and black politicians such as Eugene Bull Connor. She mentioned how DeSantis' words show he has returned to that form. Joy needs to understand that we love our governor, and we don't have a lot of tolerance for someone who would steal from an owner that has been displaced by a hurricane. Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marcino said that 4 looters were arrested in Lee County and charged with looting. 3 of the looters were in the country illegal. These folks were lucky they were not shot. Joey failed to mention this. I have been supporting Joy Reid for several years. Each month I send $430.30 to Comcast, and they own MSNBC. I would think that Comcast should be ashamed to have Joy Reid on their network, and another real prize on their network is Joe Scarborough. Oh well, there you go. At least I still have my remote, which also belongs to Comcast. I wish I could go a week without the FBI and the Justice Department doing something stupid. My dad always told me not to call people stupid, but Dad, I can't find a better word to describe the leadership of the FBI and the Department of Justice. The FBI arrested Mark Hulk, the pro-life Catholic father of 7, who was indicted by a federal grand jury on 2 counts of simple assault, which is a misdemeanor. The Justice Department and the FBI saw fit to send 15 to 20 heavily armed agents with their guns drawn to arrest this man who has no criminal history. When asked about the need for that many agents to arrest someone on a misdemeanor, the FBI said that was their policy when serving warrants. I believe I have been on dozens of raids with the FBI. We never had the SWAT team back us up, and some of the people we arrested were really bad characters. I believe that what we have seen lately is largely for view, as a political arrest is showboating by the FBI and the Justice Department. Serving warrants can be dangerous, and several law enforcement officers are killed each year while serving warrants. The FBI lost 2 fine agents in Florida on February 2021 while serving warrants on a national child pornography ring, and last month 2 Cobb County, Georgia deputies were gunned down while serving a warrant on a career criminal. The arrests I'm talking about are political arrests in nature, where the FBI and Justice Department know the parties are represented by attorneys, and all they would have to do is call the attorney and have them surrender their client. I have been encouraged by the number of agents that are coming forward now and exposing this radical agency. Deputy Assistant Director Terry Turchett, who headed the Counterterrorism Division of the FBI and was the lead agent on the Unabomber case, Terry said he did not use a SWAT team when he arrested the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. Terry said that he had trouble getting the approval to arrest Kaczynski from the Assistant Attorney General, who was Merrick Garland. Terry said he had to go around Garland to get the approval. He went directly to the FBI Director Louis Freeh, who went directly to the Attorney General Janet Reno, who okayed the arrest. Terry said no real FBI agent would defend the position of using SWAT team to arrest nonviolent senior citizens and others with political opinions not currently tolerated by this administration, compounded by the idea that many of these cases involve are misdemeanor criminal charges. The FBI has been collapsing into nothing more than a police agency for the Democratic Party, says Agent Turchie. Agent David Bolvin served 30 years, and 25 of those years he was on the SWAT team, said the current use, or should I say abuse, of Bureau SWAT teams has been outrageous. David also expressed thanks to FBI agent Stephen Friend for having the courage to say hell no to the current bunch of FBI bureaucrats and tyrants. Agent Bob Fricke said, "When I see the FBI using extreme SWAT tactics on elderly and other citizens who pose no threat, it makes me sick. It is purely political," Bob said. The only time he recalled having to wear body armor and use SWAT team was when they arrest members of an extremely violent motorcycle gang. After 9/11, FBI employees, including the management of the New York field office, sounded the alarm over the abuse of national security surveillance powers, warned that Director Robert Mueller that the Bureau should not be opening counterterrorism investigations solely on and exclusively on national security intercepts of conversations of U.S. citizens. Mueller rejected the advice. In 2013, when Mueller retired, hundreds of FBI employees signed a letter to incoming Director James Comey warning him about the political bias and political compromise of the FBI and saying that Mueller had led the Bureau in the wrong direction. As a result, the Bureau had transformed from a law enforcement agency to an intelligence organization. Comey never acknowledged the letter and continued down the same ill-fated path to this day, with current Director Chris Wray doubling down on that course. Based on the history, we should not expect better from Chris Wray. We have had 8 directors of the FBI, and Clarence Kelly is the only director that came from the ranks of the FBI. Louis Freeh was an FBI agent before he went to the Justice Department and then returned to the FBI as director. Perhaps the next director should come from one of the agents like Stephen Friend, who had the courage to step forward and expose the corruption in his organization. What can we do to correct the mess in our country? For the answer, let's go to the center of the universe, Booger Holler. We don't have a lot of golfers in Booger Holler. Fred Twiggs loved playing golf, but he was not very good. And he always blamed his bad shots, on someone else. One day, Fred was having a terrible day on the course, blaming everything on the caddy. Fred told the caddy, "You're the worst caddy at this club." The caddy said, "I don't think so. That would be too much of a coincidence." I don't believe much in coincidence myself, but how can we explain the worst president, the worst vice president, the worst attorney general, the worst FBI director, and the worst Homeland Security secretary? If this is not by coincidence, it must be by design. If it is by design, how can we change? Many believe that we're in a spiritual war, and I believe that is the case. The answer can be found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land." We are fortunate to live in this great country, and our fathers expect us to be good citizens, which requires us to serve and vote. It is not good enough for us just to complain. We must exercise our right to free speech and our right to vote. Some of the media would like to see us turn to violence to serve their purposes. Don't take the bait. You must remember, prayer and voting is the answer. For we are not wrestling nor against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual weaknesses in high places. Ephesians 6:12. Until we meet again, may God bless you, your family, and this great nation that we live in.